They decided to test him. And they brought two people to him who had confessed to adultery. And they said, "O Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam, if you are indeed a prophet of the one God, you judge this case." They set a trap for him. But when you have eyes which you see, you can see a trap. When they came to him with these two people, his response was such that this is a word which came from Australia, I believe. It boomeranged on them. Boomerang. Because he asked, "What punishment do you give?" Now you could see the sweat on their faces. "What punishment do you give?" They said, "Well, we make their faces black and we give them a beating." He then asked, and now they're really sweating bucket a drop, "Is this the punishment in your book? Bring the Torah." Oh my gosh. You would love to see this video one day. So they had to bring the Torah. And because he, Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, could not read and could not write, not because he was lazy, but because Allah kept him that way, that this would provide yet more evidence that this Quran could not have come from him. They had to appoint someone to recite from the Torah the passage dealing with the law of punishment for adultery and fornication, zina. Abdullah ibn Salam, their rabbi, had taken the Shahada and become a Muslim when Nabi Muhammad ﷺ arrived in Medina. And this rabbi is now standing next to the Prophet ﷺ as this is taking place. So the man who was appointed to recite from the Torah began to recite, and when he came to the verse on Rajam, let me explain to you, George Bush, what is Rajam if you're listening. Rajam is stoning to death, and it is in the Torah, the book which came down to Moses. Are you listening? Yeah. The book, I'm not talking to him. The book which came down to Moses, the Torah, the book is there. And in that book, the punishment for adultery and fornication is stoning to death. But when he came to that verse, he put his finger on it and he read over it. So Abdullah bin Salam, the rabbi, he said, "Stop." Oh, sorry, Malay, you have to do this. Stop. Raise your finger. Raise your finger. Now read. So he had to recite the verse on Rajam, that the law of punishment in the Torah for zina, adultery and fornication is stoning to death. So the Jews are now in, it's called monkey pants. They don't know what to do. They've been caught. So they're stammering now, when the big man committed zina, we had to let him off. And when the small man committed zina, we had to stone him to death. And we didn't like that. It didn't look good. So we decided to start a new law that we could apply on everyone. Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam then gave his judgment, his verdict, that the two people were to be stoned to death in accordance with the law which came down to Moses alayhi salatu wasalam, and which was incumbent upon them. and therefore on us as well. And the two people were stoned to death. This was the first time that a Jew had ever seen people being stoned to death for hundreds of years. Here is a man who was enforcing their law, which they themselves had put in something called cold storage. Here was evidence as dazzling as the sunshine. This man could not be other than a prophet of the one God, the God of Abraham. But they would not accept him. Now, if he was a Jew, yes, they would have accepted Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But he was not a Jew, he was an Arab. And they could not accept him. Why? If Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, the Arab, is indeed a prophet, the implication would be that our book, the Torah, is filled with lies. Because someone had done a rewriting work on the Torah.